How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about the world's greatest story with no conclusion and why I think you should or shouldn't read it. Now, as many of you know, I am quite the no-life manga, manhwa loser, and being the no-life loser that I am, I thought I should at least make some videos talking about some of the stuff that I read and whether you should or should not spend a majority of your life reading it as well. On top of that, there's like almost no videos surrounding manhwa and manhwa unless it's people talking about new chapters. It's the weirdest thing. I thought there was a whole community for manhwa and manhwa readers, but I couldn't find any channels that solely made videos talking about manhwa, light novels and stuff like that. So maybe this one will be one. But I'm getting a bit off track, so let's get back to the point of this video. Let's talk about the very first light novel that I have read and am currently reading right now. Reverend Insanity, or Master of Gu. Now, Reverend Insanity, or Taoist Gu, is a light novel following the philosophical villain Feng Yuan and his life as he finds himself 500 years in the past due to a Gu known as the Spring Autumn Cicada. Alright, I keep talking about Gu this, Gu that, but what exactly are Gu? Well, our MC Feng Yuan was once a Chinese scholar on Earth, but one day he somehow transmigrated into the world of Gu. This is a world of cultivation where Taoists use these things called Gu to improve their strength, their sight, their hearing, their mobility, their realm. Basically, everything and anything can be improved through Gu in this world. And these Gu are the essence of heaven and earth. They're basically the essence of the world itself. They come in all shapes and sizes, different forms. Sometimes they can be mountains, like giant toads, or just about anything you can imagine can be a Gu, but most of the time when they're looked at, they're in these tiny little insect forms. For example, there's a little Gu that's not too big that represents a black boar, and when you use this Gu, you can increase your strength to be that of an ordinary black boar. Now, what I've said right here doesn't truly encapsulate what a Gu is, but I'm trying to give you the best rough understanding I can, so you can decide for yourself whether you want to read Reverend Insanity after this or not. And in this world, Feng Yuan is the epitome of a villain. And I'm not talking about the average villainous MCs we have now that got transmigrated into another world, and now they can let their villainous tendencies be free because they've been harboring all these ill intentions in our world, so they can be a meanie in the new world. No. This man, Feng Yuan, is cold, calm, and collected, and will do just about anything for power. Whether that be using someone, putting his own life on the line, or killing children. Yes, he does that. This man has no morals. He will do just about anything and everything as long as it helps him accomplish his goal of eternal life. And that is why this storytelling is absolutely legendary. For example, I am currently rereading How to Be a Villain, the manhwa that I'm sure many of you know if you do read manhwa. And our MC in that story is made out to be a villain. He kills innocent people, but after a while, they start to incorporate other people that are more villainous than him. So there's a guy that owns slaves. He's definitely more villainous than our MC. And on top of that, that guy has the Demon King title and stuff. In Feng Yuan's world, he is the epitome of a villain. If all of these dudes around him could genuinely see what he has done in the past and stuff, they would look at him as the villain, even if they themselves were pretty messed up. Feng Yuan is the villain in the story, and it doesn't really get much worse than him. So now that you know a general outline of Reverend Insanity and who Feng Yuan is, let's talk about the manhwa. Now, the manhwa is what Master of Gu is. So much like many light novels, one that comes to mind is Solo Leveling. They have a light novel and they have a manhwa or a manhwa. This is also seen in the anime scene. We have shows like Classroom of the Elite and That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, who were both light novels, but they went, instead of going from light novel to manga to anime, they went from light novel to anime. Whereas a lot of these manhwa and manhwas go from light novel to manhwa or manhwa. And the manhwa or manhwa is created by either a fan who really likes the story, decides to create it and see how the people like it, or they have an entire studio that takes it in and creates the manhwa or manhwa. So there's your little history lesson. Let's get back to the video. Master of Gu is 96 chapters, whereas Reverend Insanity is 2,334 chapters. However, the manhwa has only roughly covered chapters up until 115 of the light novel, and it probably will not be covering any more. And that is because Reverend Insanity has been banned. Yep, you heard me. Reverend Insanity, this great story that I'm talking about, has been banned by the Chinese government for allegedly strongly criticizing authoritarianism. And the story has a lot of like king of the jungle mentality, like to be the best of the best, you gotta like get rid of the rest stuff. Wow, that was actually kind of smooth. But it's a really messed up story, and it has been banned by the Chinese government. So that's where the big question arises of, should you devote a large majority of your life if there's no conclusion to this story? To answer that, I can break you down into roughly 3 categories. There's a little bit more, but you know, there's 3 categories. Those of you that love watching anime, you don't really like reading, but you've watched this video and you're like, wow, this guy sounds pretty dope. I kind of want to learn more about him. To that, I say, don't read it. If you can't like sit there and properly read a story and you've never done it before, this is not a great starter story. It is super philosophical, and it really like probes you to think about things like in a whole new light. So if you are an anime person, but you really do wish to move over to the manhwa scene and the the manga scene, I can recommend some things for you to go into, which would be like solo leveling in the beginning after the end. And it'll get you used to not really liking endings, because solo leveling's ending of the manhwa is quite rushed. The beginning after the end is currently in like a full out feud with the artists. It might be coming back this summer though, so we'll see. And then if you do enjoy reading manhwas, I will put you on to I Am the Fated Villain, which I would say is a manhwa that most closely encapsulates Feng Yuan's mentality. It's a pretty messed up story, and it's a really, really good story about a villainous MC. So then if you really like that, then move on to Master of Gu. And even if you like it or don't like it, move on to the light novel after that, okay? Trust me. Which brings me to number 2. Those of you that enjoy reading and you've also read the manhwa and you really liked it. To that, I say, why have you not started the light novel yet? And on top of that, if you're like me, who doesn't really enjoy reading, but you do like reading with pictures, but light novels don't have pictures, so you're like, should I really read it? Trust me, I hate reading without pictures. Do it. It needs to be done. It's so, so good. You will not be disappointed. And number 3, those of you that love reading, but you didn't really like the manhwa, because let's be honest, the manhwa is a complete and utter cuck in comparison to the light novel. The manhwa doesn't truly encapsulate what the light novel does. It does show Feng Yuan and his messed up sides to him, but it stops right before things start to like truly take off. I kid you not, almost immediately after the manhwa stops covering the light novel excels. So I say give the light novel a try until chapter 200. And if you don't like it once you've reached chapter 200, then just cut it off and you can kind of leave it there and never come back to it. But this novel deserves you to at least give it that much. It's that good. Because the manhwa is really just not that good in comparison to the novel. And this is for a various amount of reasons, such as stopping right before things get good. And it also impacts your imagination of what's truly going on in the novel, because the novel is super descriptive and really leaves things up to your imagination. Whereas if you have the manhwa, it kind of fixes that imagination for you. Reading without the fixed manhwa that shows you visually what's going on and leaving it to like your brain to interpret what you're reading, it brings it to like a whole entire new light of this world and just how messed up Feng Yuan can truly be. You've just got to trust me, okay? If you like Machiavellian villainous MCs, Feng Yuan with Reverend Insanity is the story for you. Though it may not have an ending, having over 2,000 chapters is quite a lot of material for you to be reading, especially when this material is absolutely legendary and just beautiful storytelling and completely and utterly peak. Reverend Insanity at least deserves you giving it a try for 200 chapters. You'll be happy it did, okay? Well, if you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button, maybe check out all these socials up here, maybe leave a like, maybe join the Discord so you can get notified when I post. And yeah, if you enjoyed me talking about Reverend Insanity, I can talk a whole lot more about manhwas and light novels, but let me know in the comments if you want to see more videos surrounding light novels and manhwas. All right? Hope you all have a wonderful day, night, morning, afternoon, sunrise, sunset, whatever time it is for you. I hope you have a great one, because you deserve it. Love you all so much, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.